Round 2.
Back with my dog. How you feeling since last episode, man?
Brother Charles, I'm well. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm doing good, man. Came, to the Slbp studio in full drip, full occasion. Got the shades on, pulled the diamonds out, got the chains on. Feeling good, looking good, man. We got to put it in the... You can hear that. You can hear that? Mic?
I do. That sounds real. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds kind of heavy too.
Heavy.
Is that like a neck weight?
Shoot, hit the horn. I like that. There you go. I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like that.
We lit.
So we back outside today, man. Episode 002.
Let's go.
And we going up today, man. I got my boy. Shout out Chinua. My boy Chew. He's executive producer. And we really appreciate you. Round of applause.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
He upgraded us on here today, man. So we're going to have some fun. But it is episode 002. And today, my brother, we are going to talk about should you vote. My name is Charles Bourgeois, the People's Champ. Kissing babies, shaking hands, or shaking babies, kissing hands, whatever gets the job done. I'm here with my dog.
Hey guys, I'm Brother Nkosi. Y'all know I gotta hit the stanza real quick for the one time.
One more time. Keep it short.
It's pretty short. All right, here it go, guys. I am Nkosi. Now nods the self inside to liberate the spirits, minds, bodies, and pockets of my people. Y'all see I got the unk on. Drip.
I like it.
I got my own jewelry swag. It's not like his. It's kind of heavy though. It's copper.
I'm not a fan of that one, but what works for you works for you. Like my dad said, there is an ass for every seat. You like that one?
Wow, that is.
I like if my dad said there's an ass or there's a seat for every ass. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
It's all good, man. So today we're going to talk about should you vote. In short, my answer is yes. You should absolutely vote. How you feel about that?
Should we?
In short,
should we?
We should. But look, before we jump into should we vote, we're going to talk about my favorite segment is what had happened was. And today we're going to talk about
what happened.
What had happened was,
okay.
Representative Paul Gosar wants to create a $500 bill with Trump's face on it. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. A $500 bill with Donald Trump's face. And
with number 45?
Yeah, 45 on the 500, which is really crazy. So I don't really get this because, you know what I mean? I'm still waiting on the 20 tub, the Tubman, that Dub Tubman.
Miss Harriet Tubman, where's our bill?
Our bill.
Y'all only going to give us, like 20? She was only about 20. He get 500?
So it's crazy.
My guy Trump, everything. Trump just be like, look, I'm coming in, I'm taking over, I'm trumping everybody.
I don't like it. But apparently, Gosar has proposed legislation for the Secretary of Treasurer's office to have a new perspective or a new bill he's coined as Trump, which stands for Treasurer Reserve Unveiling Memorial Portrait. In this act, he's proposed to have the Federal Reserve print these notes of Donald Trump. And his reasoning for doing so is, quote, it will give Americans more options to save and exchange goods and services and to, quote, reduce the digital market, the digital banking, which I think is crazy. And then he goes on to say that from a collector's perspective, the $500 bill will become highly sought after, generating more revenue for America and increased demand. But
hey,
honestly,
Brother Charles, I have a question.
Crazy.
Would you add the $500 Trump bill to your collection?
I mean, listen, money is money. if my boy Trump ends up being the face of the 500, you can't say you're not going to spend it because you're going to spend it. But I'm upset.
Y'all going to spend your Trump bills?
You're going to spend that Trump bill. The crazy part about it, though, is that I looked into it. I didn't know before the segment just talked about this, is that we're scheduled to apparently get our Harriet Tubman, our 20 tub, in 2030.
Wow.
Yeah.
But Trump, if he get reelected, about February, he gonna have him a Trump bill. Trump not gonna wait no 10 years to get no Trump bill. Hey, Harriet been waiting. How long Harriet been waiting?
Since 2019.
100 and
so that would have been 11 years of waiting for the tub.
But I mean, she been dead for how long?
Yeah. I mean,
when did she do what she had to do?
Harriet Tubman been buried. But the crazy part about it is, when you go back and look at the history of this, the Federal Reserve actually approved these larger bills. We used to have $500 bills all the way ranging from $500 to $10,000. But see, this was actually something that was used and approved for interbank transactions that gained popularity in the 60s, and then it ended up being cut later, into the 70s and the 80s. Those bills are no longer in circulation and no longer exist. So I think the whole thing is crazy. But it looks like it's going to be a $500 Trump dollar bill coming soon, especially particularly if Donald Trump wins. You, like you said earlier, you can expect if Donald Trump wins, we're going to get this 500. This 500 bill is coming, and I think it's crazy. So what had happened was we got a $500 Trump bill coming soon.
Is this why we vote?
Don't love it. I mean, this would be a reason why you would vote, because I'm not particularly fond of Harriet Tubman having to wait a long time.
To say the least.
To say the least. And
to
Donald
say
Trump,
the least.
Really, honestly, all this is going to do at the end of the day, all this is going to do is going to make inflation go even higher, because boys going to walk around. I can see it now. The rapper's going to be like, yeah, you ain't got that 500 blue. They're going to hold the $500 stack to their face. They're going to be like, I got $1 million.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild, man. But listen, moving on from what had happened was we're going to jump into it.
Don't they got like a law that rappers can only carry around like $10,000?
There is no law. When you go to the airport, yeah, TSA has a law.
Or something about the bank can only.
No,
like
when you go to the airport, TSA has a $10,000 denomination and under. You're not supposed to have more than $10,000 in cash.
Oh, yeah. I think that's how they got Dr. Slbp. Something about money and stuff.
Listen, we didn't get it.
I'm not going to speculate. Let's move on.
We got to move on, man. We'll move on. We'll come back to Trump in a later episode, but right now we got to talk about, should we vote? And I think in essence, for me, I'll start it off here. Yes.
Let me start it off.
Well, go ahead. I mean,
let's give the people some background.
Go ahead.
All right. So today, people, y'all going to get a crash course on civics by your boy, Brother Nkosi.
I'm going to keep you honest. Let's go.
For sure. All right, guys, I'm going to run down a real quick, brief civics introduction. So just in case when you were in class, you wasn't paying attention,
right,
you forgot, maybe you just don't know,
right,
maybe you didn't care, maybe it wasn't a brother looking like myself presenting the information to you.
They definitely didn't look like you.
Whatever the reason.
They didn't have Pop Smoke braids and a button-up shirt talking about voting.
Look, these are a little bit different today.
It's fine. Let's move on. I mean, listen, I'm going to pass it to you, man. Go ahead.
Let me get into the civics lesson. We have 3 levels of government. First, we have the executive.
Boom.
Then we have the legislative.
Boom.
And then we have the judicial.
There we go.
So on the national level, we know that the executive branch is the president.
And
then we have the legislative branches, which has 2 bodies.
Talk to them.
We have the House of Representatives and we have the U.S. Senators.
That's correct.
And these 2 bodies collectively make the legislative branch. And then lastly, we have the judicial branch. So that's where you have
What's in that branch?
Like your Supreme Court justices.
The judge. High level, right, for the kids at home. We got judges, we got politicians, and we got the president. Those are the easiest ways to think about it, right?
Right. So that's the national level. So let's move on to the next part of civics lessons.
Okay.
Then we have state government. So in the state government, your executive branch is your governor. They oversee like the state laws, National Guard, things of that nature.
Word.
Then we have the legislative branch as well. They're called different terms, but it's kind of like the same thing as the national level. You have the House of Reps and you have your senators. These bodies both have to agree so that a bill can be passed or a law that can be passed.
Like the Trump bill.
Right.
Got it.
And then, Trump is another good word for veto. Once the legislative branch comes together, the House and the senators, and they decide on the bill, all agree onto the terms, have majority of the vote, then that either becomes law or the governor or the president can override that.
Or they can sign off on it and make it law.
Cool. Now let's go local. So now we're on the third form of government.
This is where it counts the most.
Yes.
I would agree.
That's correct.
I would agree.
I think you agree with yourself, but yes. It's all good.
Got the shades on it. I can agree with myself.
So we went over national, we went over state, now we're on the county level. So on the county level, we have things called like county commissioners, sometimes aldermen, stuff like that. Then you have local governments. So then let's look at like the city of Atlanta, for example.
Okay, talk about it.
That's a major city. It's a major black city.
Talk about it.
It's arguably the best place to be for black people.
Could be the Black Mecca.
Is it still the Black Mecca?
We'll talk about that on the next episode.
Okay. Thanks for getting me on topic. So locally, we have like the city of Atlanta. So we have 15 council members, 3 at-large seats, 12 council members. Then they get a majority vote. Then that becomes law. And then like the mayor, who's the executive on the city level, can override. So the mayor, has all executors on all levels have what they call executive orders.
Okay, so you're really displaying, call it the balance of power at each three of these levels.
For sure. And then overall, federal kind of trumps state, state kind of trumps local. And local be considered city, county.
Well, let's put it in perspective for
kind of
the folks
basic
out there
education.
riding around. So for that example in Atlanta.
Wait. One more thing.
Okay.
I won't. All right. So last thing we have primary elections. We have general elections.
Right.
So the primary elections, essentially, you choose a Democratic or Republican or independent candidate.
Primary.
And then that winner goes to the general election, which is in November.
Correct.
So in May, you have the primary elections, and then in November, you have the general elections.
So in order to get voted
go vote
on,
in both.
Right. In order to get voted on in November, you have to essentially pass the primary in May. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. And then what I was trying to figure out, just so that we can relate this to the folks at home. Yeah. If you commit a mild crime or misdemeanor or felony and you go before the district attorney is appointed or voted in. How does that work in the state and for the city locally?
So different states have different ways of getting people like district attorneys. But for the most part, district attorneys are elected officials.
Got it.
So they will be in the primary, and then they would go to the general, and that's how you would choose.
So without even jumping too far to it, Nkosi, we appreciate that brief crash course. If you commit a felony or a crime or whatever, you end up going before the courthouse, and once you get in front of that jury and that prosecutor gets up, the district attorney starts going in on you. You could have thought about voting, and maybe you would have got somebody else that's potentially prosecuting you in court because your vote does matter. So on the very high level, whoever you vote for in district attorney could end up being the reason why you get less time or more time. So that's the first value you can look at why voting even counts.
If you have DAs who are more favorable to like things like possession marijuana violations, then maybe they're more likely to slap you on the wrist rather than slap the cuffs on you and put you in jail
hard
for
on crime
30 days or whatever the violation of marijuana possession.
No, that's true. So I mean, here it is locally. It definitely matters to vote.
Good point, sir.
Well, when we jump into, you got to back it up a little bit. We talk about why we should vote to even talk about how long we've been able to vote or what the rules are on voting. So
let's talk about voting rights.
When we talk about it, right, we look into it. 1788. This is immediately after the Constitution gets adopted and ratified, and we get our freedom. July 4th, all that. They have an act here where voting is left to the states, and the U.S. Constitution adopts this federal requirement, essentially granting the standards for voting rights. And so in that time, 1788, only white Anglo-Saxon American males who own property that are older than 21 are the only ones allowed to vote. And so this is in late 1700s, which then puts us at the beginning and the foundation of who can vote in this country. When we move it forward a little further, we're getting into 1868, which is citizenship is granted to all natural and U.S.-born citizens and kind of naturalizing the people and the land. That's the 13th Amendment that prohibits slavery. And then getting into the 14th Amendment is when they call it, ratify all persons are equal under the law. And so you got to think, slavery is abolished. Let's call it 1865, Juneteenth. 3 years later, they say, hey, anyone born here is under these protections. And February 3rd, 1870, black men are gifted the right to vote. And I'm saying gift because it was kind of like one of those gifts on Christmas you get and you didn't really want because it wasn't really what you thought you was going to get.
We didn't want the gift of voting.
Not the way that it was given to us, right? And
so how was it given?
It was given to us in a sense of, okay, you're going to be able to vote during Reconstruction in 1870, but Congress is passing this. However, it comes with a bunch of laws or kind of minute things. It's like poll tax. I don't have 15 cents. Right. I can't vote.
Wasn't they making people at one point to read before you could vote in some areas?
Literacy test. If you can't read, and most times if you were previously a slave who couldn't read, guess what? You're not going to pass a literacy test, and you probably don't have 15 cents. And if you did pass and did have 15 cents, they would hit you with the grandfather clause, which if your grandfather didn't own property, guess what? You can't vote. So
the grandfather clause, that's where that comes from.
That's where that comes from. So
man,
really,
you're a pretty smart guy, man.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to talk about why we should vote. And really, when you talk about why we should vote, we got to talk about why we haven't been able to vote to talk about why it's important today. So really, a lot of these things let's call them the denials of entry, the barriers to keeping black folk from voting, that stayed on until 1965. But when we talk about before we get to 1965 and why that's important, later on from, let's call it late 1870 into 1920, 1920 is when women get the right to vote. So 1920 is the women's suffrage movement. The 19th Amendment is adopted, basically says that all citizens are able to vote regardless of sex. So
Black
that is a
women,
big thing.
You have joined the party.
All women, you have joined the party.
Fair.
But the thing about it, though, is that still doesn't really provide a way. In 1920, like, for example, my grandfather was born in 1922. He remembers all of these things. So in 1922, black folks still really can't vote because they're still dealing with these, call them these Jim Crow laws or these Reconstruction laws, and they're unable to really make their voice and their vote count.
Black codes as well.
Right. So when you think about why voting is important, black folks haven't been able to vote since 1965. 1965, that's the Voting Rights Act in kind of...
Oh, you said they haven't been able to
They have
vote?
not been able to really vote until 1965. And when you do the math, and let's just call it what it is, couldn't vote until 59 years ago.
Without repercussion
we
or
know
threat
people
of violence.
who are 59 years old.
Things
correct.
of that nature.
You couldn't vote, let's call it sub 60 years ago, without being physically abused, verbally attacked, denied entry, poll tax, literacy test, grandfather clause. So niggas in America ain't been voting but for 60 years. That's the main reason why voting counts and voting is important, because you can't change the rules from the outside. What Chris Brown say? You hating outside the club, you can't even get in. Like that's the whole thing. So if
CB,
right,
what's up, man?
So CB put it in perspective. When you talk about it, Chris Brown not wrong. If you want to talk about, if you are complaining about issues and challenges you have in this country, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm not going to vote. It don't matter." Guess what? The challenges and issues are not going to change because it gets to a point where you have to either lead for yourself or lead for community. Now, when you say lead for yourself and lead for community, you have to be a civil servant of your own box, your own neighborhood, your own city, your own state, and go vote on the things that you care about, that you want to share and talk about. And if you feel so inclined to want to be someone to go lead for the community, then you need to get up and go run. And I'm getting into that because a lot of people like to get into there are no candidates. All the candidates suck. I don't want to vote for the red side. The guy on the red guy is trash. I don't want to vote for the blue guy. The blue guy is trash. At the end of the day,
what
none
about
of that.
the guy on the white tee, also known as the independent?
Well, I mean, look. So I'm saying all that to simply say, if you want to be someone who makes an impact, gotta take the shades off. You have to be the change you want to see, and say that because if
that sounds familiar.
I think that's a Barack Obama quote.
No, actually, I think we made something like that.
What did we say?
You remember Voice Your Vote?
I do remember Voice Your Vote. Shout out to all those. I remember VYV.
The change. Yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate y'all. The change we want to see was on the back of our T-shirt.
Change you want to see. Well, at the end of the day, you got to take it from the greats that come before us. You got to be the change you want to see. And I think Obeezy said, "Don't boo, vote." Right. And so the reason why you have to say, pick a side or participate or to vote is because your vote does matter. Voter suppression is all about stopping people from voting and stopping particular neighborhoods and particular areas from voting. So at the end of the day, politicians want to retain power, and you retain power by stopping certain segments of groups from voting. And then when they don't vote and your group does come out to vote from a simple matter, you end up winning these seats and winning these elections.
You used the word to describe those people last time. Do you remember what that was called?
Black folks?
Marginalized.
Oh, the marginalized people. Well, as of the marginalized people, it affects everybody. So there's an example I wanted to bring up here. When you say your vote doesn't count, you got to think about there's a person who ran for city council in Washington named Damian Green. He, quote, didn't vote for himself in 2023 for city elections, and he ended up losing. But the ironic part about this is, Nkosi, how many votes do you think Damian Green lost by?
Damian Green. That name sounds like he has a great voter ID. So I would
Great
say
voter ID.
Yeah. So, guys, so a name ID or voter ID is a real big thing in campaigns. So the more your name is recognized or is known, the more likely you are to win.
That's true. So Damian Green, whether he had a good voter ID name or not, how many votes do you think he lost by?
Maybe about 100.
No. Damian Green decided he didn't want to vote for himself because he didn't want to boost himself up or didn't want to trump his own horn or whatever. He didn't vote for himself and he lost by one vote.
Do you love yourself? You didn't want to vote for
Clearly.
yourself?
So you got to think about that. When you say your vote doesn't count, there's countless times of interactions where you can go online. You can go to Google right now, search politician loses by 1 vote or election lost by 1 vote.
Comes up.
Damian Green's going to pop up and you're going to see him. He decided not to vote for himself and he lost the city council election seat.
Come on, Mr. Green.
So best believe when we say, my vote doesn't count, best believe it does, because the smallest of elections that are able to determine your initial outcome in the community, local elections mean the most. There's the smallest amount of people. He ended up losing by 1 vote, but the vote was a very small margin. The vote was 245 to 246. So it's very small, right? So when you talk about this, you have to understand that no matter what, like your vote in these elections, they have consequences. So if you decide your vote doesn't matter, which it does. Individual votes do matter. It will sway elections because not a lot of people go out and vote in the first place. So you got to think about it. If you can be that one person to do that, then go drive that ball home. And when you talk about there isn't enough candidates or any good candidates, you got to get up.
We need better candidates.
You got to get up and be that candidate. So if you are complaining about the candidate, be the change you want to see. And when you talk about that, it gets into a thing where if you don't like the options, right, you still need to figure out
be the option.
Well, let's say you can't be the option.
Okay.
And you don't like either option, then you need to go look at the platform from either option. And this could take 10 minutes to look and see, I'm gonna vote in November. This guy has something in education I like. Okay, I'm gonna vote for him.
And wait, real quick, let's stop the ball right there. So when we're talking about supporting a candidate, what does supporting a candidate really looks like? So when you decide there is a candidate that stands for the things that you want to see, what does support look like? So the ways you can support your candidate, of course, you can donate money.
Okay.
You can vote, of course. That should be obvious. You can
throw a fundraiser.
Yeah, that's kind of like raise money or donate. Yeah, I like that. And then also you can volunteer. The biggest way for any candidate to win an election is by the volunteers that they have. So if you really like somebody, we call them like shifts. It's usually just like 2 to 4 hours. You can canvass, which means you can like knock on your neighbor's doors, or you can make a couple of phone calls, and those are some of the easy ways that you can support
knocking doors
the candidates.
And calling the folks.
Yeah, that's some of the ways that we can get better people elected by you taking an extra step, talking with the candidate, reaching out to the candidate, and actually supporting them so you can see the change you want to see.
But see, Nkosi, you're giving people a lot of credit. You're talking about the extra steps, being involved, going knocking doors, making phone calls.
We're just talking about voting.
Folks don't even want to vote. They don't even want to be involved. So the crazy part about it is like, if you don't even want to be involved and you want to go the extra mile, that's great. But if you're having a hard time understanding why it's important, it's important because these things have consequences.
For sure. So let me talk about some of the reasons why I vote then, guys. Let me break it down to you really, really easy. So like when we go to work every day, right? What we do, we pay taxes.
Okay.
So every time you go to work, like me, they take about 25% out my check. Okay. Sometimes on a good job, maybe 35%. Yeah. Depending on what I got going on. But anyway, so they take the taxes out. That comes automatically out of your check. That's assigned to federal government. That's assigned to the state government. State government allocates those funds down to the local government, meaning your county and city, meaning that the elected officials on the city, county, state, and national government controls the tax revenue that you put in. So whoever you put in as elected officials, they control your money, the money you worked hard for.
True.
And you want to make sure that those dollars are going to help make your life better. Because if you're not on the ball watching them, telling them what to do with your money, they gonna do what's best for them and their family and their friends. Yeah. So you have to go out there and vote because you talking about a piece of your pie, the money you work for going out the door.
Yeah.
And we don't want no money out the door because for black people, we already behind.
We're not leaving no crumbs on the table.
Right. So that's why I vote. Right? And so I want to talk a little bit more about the power of the elected officials. So the power of elected officials is that they have relationships that can help you in times of getting hard. So if you help get elected official in office and, like something happens, like the garbage man is not collecting your trash, and let's just say in this instance, the city or county picks up the trash, you can reach out to your your elected official after reaching out to
Right.
the garbage people and let them know, hey, I reached out to the garbage people 2 times. Can you make this happen?
Because it's about who you know.
They pick up the phone,
Right.
and that day your trash get picked up. But now you on your own, you might have a month of trash in your house. Now your house stink. People don't like you. Your family don't get along. Obviously, I'm over exaggerating.
You're on the trash tangent.
You guys get it. You know, we don't want trash in the house. So
right. So clean up the trash. It is about who you know.
Some of the power of the elected officials.
And Nkosi is correct, because if you knew some politicians, I can guarantee your life's going to be a lot easier, and you're going to be able to do a lot more things you didn't think you were going to be able to do. But I wanted to make sure before we kind of start talking about some other things.
And let me throw a little something else out there. So let's say, all right, it's time to vote on the budget. And let's say we know in the black community we have lots of problems getting capital money to start businesses, right? So now everybody that supported our candidates, we all march up there and be like, hey, we want small business grants. Now we got small business. So grants mean you have to pay it back. So now they're putting money into small business grants that now we can all go apply for, and now we can start businesses in our community, and we can start taking back our community.
Well, definitely putting those people in office that have
in terms of control.
Yeah, that have that control to be able to impact that in your life. That's definitely, I think, something everyone can agree for. But people don't understand how putting someone in office that has the access to those funds and resources will change the outcome and trajectory for you and your family. So that is the thing that you got to talk about. But before we kind of get into some other topics and move on, we got to talk about the consequences of not voting. In the most relevant way we can talk about the consequences is talking about what's coming up in November. And I'm saying that particularly because if you haven't heard, I got to make sure I tell you guys now, there is something called Project 2025. Nkosi, do you know about Project 2025?
No.
Okay, so let me tell you about Project 2025. Project 2025 is also known as the Presidential Transition Project. Right. And this is essentially in the event that the Republican Party wins. And I'm not here saying vote Republican or vote Democrat. I'm not saying any of that. But what I'm saying to you is that you have to be knowledgeable about a potential consequence that will happen in November if you don't go and exercise your vote. And maybe you do not agree with these things.
Did Trump make a threat?
No, Trump didn't make a threat, but there is a project that has been associated with the Republican Party for the 2024 presidential election. And essentially what this is talking about doing is replacing tens of thousands of federal civil servants to be Republican loyalists.
What's a civil servant for the people? Just so
a civil servant is the people you've described all day, which is I work for, I don't know, the state water or the board of education, or I'm just someone who works on behalf of the people in a government facility.
Okay, the administrators
below
the elected officials.
Correct. All the people that support the man. Okay. So once the man runs, all the folks under him, we
just want the people to know.
Yeah. The Republican Party essentially is talking about Project 2025 to replace everyone that is in that national government and put them, let's call it deep state ideologists or people who have the same view as those in that party. So some folks are saying this is Trump loyalists. I just think it's people who kind of want to get to a more Republican state of mind and view for America. They're referring this as to take back America, which I think is wild. And some of the details include some wild points.
That Trump had on? It sounds
familiar. Make America Great Again?
It's the same thing.
It's a similar notion to that. But here are the points. So Project 2025, that could happen in November if the Republican Party wins. First, they're going to start off by defunding the FBI, the DOJ, and the DHS.
Wait. How is this going to help black people?
This doesn't help black people because I'm going to get into why it doesn't.
It's going to hurt black people.
That ultimately would hurt black folks. Okay. When you're talking about things that were wronged against black folks, those governments, offices need to help. Those agencies need to help. But I mean, you're right when you said it because the FBI hasn't notoriously been great for black folks.
Yeah, it all started with that Hoover cat. Hey man,
the Hoover cat didn't do good for black folks.
I hope you twirling around in your grave.
Yes, it's not good. But I mean, essentially, you're talking about defunding some of these crucial agencies. The one that I think is the worst is ending the independence for the FTC and the FCC. And I also think that abolishing the Department of Education is crazy. Ending climate research, rejecting abortion completely from healthcare, and that's wild. Like,
okay, so when you say rejecting abortion for the people, does that mean taking off the insurance so that insurances don't cover abortion? Is that what you're saying?
there's a start to that. But what we're really saying is that abortion is illegal. It's both.
Okay, so it's back to like Roe v. Wade type
Back
stuff.
to all that. So we're saying that's not even a part of healthcare. So you're right. You would have to go to some kind of...
So that's the Make America
Great again. So all this is making America great again. And like I'm saying to you, I'm not telling you to vote...
Who's it going to be great
I'm
for?
not telling you to vote for Republicans or Democrats, but I'm just giving you some of the Project 2025 pieces that are in here. They want to also... infuse Christianity in government. Politics. They want to ban pornography, removing protections from LGBTQ. I mean, it's a lot in here. I mean, militarizing police for insurrection and deporting illegal immigrants across America. Essentially, what we're saying is we're going to roll back a lot of the protections and a lot of the pieces that make America the place that what it is as a melting pot, and make it solely focused on Christian Protestants or those of Caucasian descent. That's really kind of what this is getting into when you start talking about some of these non-protections for folks and banning porn and Christian ideals. It becomes a little wild. So I wanted to make sure folks know about what this means and what this has as a consequence of not voting. If Republicans win, they're talking about enacting Project 2025.
Look, I like that, man. So you talked about the hurt, right?
Yeah.
So now I want to talk about how we going to help black people. You feel me? So y'all remember this symbol?
The Wakanda Forever?
Wakanda Forever. Shout out to Ryan Coogler. So I was actually thinking about this on the way over to the studio. So basically, like, I was thinking, I was like, is this the Malcolm X symbol? Was he saying like Malcolm X forever? Because Ryan Coogler is a really smart brother. That's if you guys don't know, that's the director of the Black Panther movie,
right?
And Wakanda Forever movie, which was the second Black Panther movie.
I think he was just saying Wakanda Forever.
For sure. But anyway, as a reference, I think it might be the Malcolm X, but we don't know. We have to ask him.
It could be.
Ryan Coogler, please respond to this video. Anyway.
Wait, what? Well, if you're out there, holler at us, please.
Please do. Anybody know Ryan Coogler? Reach out to him, send him this clip so that we can know if he meant Malcolm X forever or if he really meant Wakanda forever.
It probably was a reference.
So to my point, to the Malcolm X. So Malcolm X, he gave a profound speech in 1964 called The Ballad or the Bullet. So in this speech, he identified some mechanisms used for oppression. 3 mechanisms in particular. So we have economic exploitation, we have social degradation, and we have political oppression. Guys, go check out. You can go on YouTube. You can go check out Bullet or Bullet.
Yep.
And listen to the speech. I think this speech will help provide you with a political education in addition to watching our show and networks like us. Yeah. It's not much like us. I mean, we the best out there. But, look at the speech.
We the best.
And we will definitely provide additional insight in a later episode.
Sure. Well, yeah, so then I like that. I mean, that's kind of a good way to segment, because it's no lies told here. We got to vote, and if we don't vote, we have to deal with the consequences. And I think Malcolm X was talking about those consequences. But when it comes down to this next election, Tuesday, November 5th, that's the national election. That counts, but make sure you whatever city, state you're in locally, be involved, do the research, figure out the candidates, go vote, man. Because if you don't vote, you can't, like I said earlier, Chris Brown said it, you can't hate from outside the club.
Right. And again, like to reiterate, guys, remember that's your money. Like you voting where your money go.
That is
don't
true.
You want to like have a say in the money that they took from you, that they took it out your check. Like as soon as you sign that W-4 and that state form, different state forms have different state different state forms. Yeah. But once you sign these forms, they take that money from you, and the only way you can get it back is by voting and putting those elected officials in there that represent your interests, so that you can have a reciprocal relationship with that money.
And if you don't like the officials, go run. That's it. That's the best we can say there. But
go run for office.
To move out of that,
we need all black people to go run for. Well, all qualified and competent black people to go run for office. If you are competent, you are qualified, feel free to DM me. You guys know the Instagram.
Look, and I would say there's a lot of incompetent white folks in politics. So really, honestly, if you are passionate and you got a strong voice, get up and go run, because at the end of the day, you're only going to be the output for the community that you want to see. So if you're passionate about the community or particularly in the environment or in the sciences or in education,
right,
we need your help. We need your help right now. Get out, go run, find some form of legislation that you like or you don't like, or make it new, write it, a community, a part of town that you want to impact.
Right.
Go find those seats. Go run for office.
And the starting point is going to volunteer on the campaign, like I was saying, and develop mentors that can help you start doing these things. You might not just go, hey, I'm going to run for office, but you start with volunteering on your local elections.
I think, the people get it, right? At the end of the day, why should we vote? We should vote because our life literally depends on it. And, that's that on that. And the people don't got to lie, man. But unfortunately, there's a lot of folks out here who be lying to kick it.
Right. And when they say you vote with your dollars, go get businesses too. Like maybe running for office isn't for you. Go start a business and fund somebody's campaign that's a better candidate.
I like that
represents
too.
Black interests.
I like that too. But we got to jump on to the next segment. Next segment, like I said, is lie to kick it. And, this is kind of like a black,
that's a cultural term, isn't
it? Term that we like to throw out there in a phrase like, hey man, you ain't got a lie to kick it. So in the lie to kick it, we're gonna jump into some things and points that
who lied.
I think that's a bold-faced lie. So we got to talk about it today. The lie of the day, or the lie to kick it of the day, it comes straight to us from Oklahoma, and we've all known about it. We've heard about it. We haven't jumped into the massacres and the black violence in this country, but one thing that we all know is the Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921. The lie to kick it of the day is it's outrageous. Honestly, it's unfortunate that it just came back a few weeks ago that Oklahoma Supreme Court has denied the survivors' claims of compensation under the public nuisance and tort for unjust enrichment. And so I'm sad about this, but for the folks that don't know, I'm going to give you a quick spiel about it. The Tulsa Race Massacre happened over 100 years ago, 1921, and this is a riot.
Wait. The people they dropped the bomb on?
The people they dropped the bomb on.
Y'all know there's a song called, I'm mad I have to sing it like this, but you dropped the bomb on me.
That's where that comes from, actually. You dropped the bomb on me. That's where it comes from.
You're turning me on. I think that's how it goes.
Hey, let them sing the song.
Yeah. I'm not qualified.
So what we're saying essentially is, yes, the white mob that dropped bombs on Tulsa, burned up the businesses, killed the people, and you're talking about
police oppressive forces dropped bombs on black civilians.
And you're talking about over 300 black people were killed, and the remaining survivors of the Tulsa Black Massacre, what we're talking about from 1921, over 100 years ago.
Was that the movement in Philly, or was that the
Tulsa? No, that's something different. Well, something different. It's different. We're talking about the Tulsa Black Massacre in Oklahoma.
Where they dropped the bomb. That's where that song comes from.
But they dropped the bomb in
Philly.
They dropped the bomb in Tulsa. That's where that song's come from. The Greenwood Band? The Greenwood Band for that Greenwood district over what was known as Black Wall Street.
They dropped a bomb in Philly, too.
Well,
they drop a lot of bombs on black people anyway. Go ahead. They always want to drop bombs on
we got to get back to what we're talking about. The last two remaining survivors, Viola Fletcher and Benny Randall, age 110 and 109. They've lived this long. They essentially, came to the State House after filing these petitions and notions to essentially get reparations for what had been done.
So this was state Supreme Court. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, guys. Remember I taught y'all earlier. Go back and watch
because the state of Oklahoma owes essentially reparations to the people who have been impacted over this massacre. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about, like I said, businesses, over 300 people, a terrible disaster for black folks at the time.
Are they going to appeal it? Do you know?
So it was appealed. Okay. And it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. And I'm going to read it again because I talked about it earlier, but it says here, I'm going to read it. It says the court determined the plaintiff's allegations did not sufficiently support a claim for unjust enrichment. I am appalled to learn that you would have the Supreme Court in Oklahoma deny these poor old black people, because these are poor black old ladies. I looked it up, because I wanted to understand. The Oklahoma nuisance law is, according to the Oklahoma statutes, a nuisance means an unlawful act or admission that either injures, annoys, or endangers the safety of the lives of others, that interferes with public rights. I don't know how more of a clear definition than it could be than that, but this literally is just for that cause. So to hear that, I mean, that's the lie to kick it of the day. I don't understand why you could deny these old folks that are survivors of Oklahoma massacre and not give them their money.
Sound like they lied on their oath to be judges. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, it sounds like this is a snowball for reparations in America, and maybe we don't want to start that ball. Once we get that ball rolling, me and you be driving in Bugattis.
Give black people what they deserve. Oh,
I know it's sad. So, and I hate to keep getting into all the sadness, but we got to talk about lie to kick it today, and that is the lie to kick it
lie to kick
of
it segment
the day. And before we get out of here, we appreciate you, Nkosi. We jumped into why we should vote or should we vote. Answer is yes, because maybe we could have got better judges and we could have awarded those poor old black people their money in Oklahoma. So it's just sad, man. Look, before we get out, we got to shout out our black business, our love of the light of the day, showing the love on all the people in our community. Shout out to the Gathering Spot, man.
Man, the Gathering Spot is a beautiful location. They're doing great things. Don't they have 2 locations?
Multiple cities.
Wow.
Yeah,
DC now and
DC, talking about Atlanta, talking about Houston, talked about LA.
Very professional place, good co-working space.
Do some business.
Yeah.
It's a great place. So if you guys are looking for a co-working space, something to just get in the mix or meet other people or build some kind of entrepreneurial community, please go check out the Gathering Spot. We have tagged them below. So you got to make sure we're in the community, stay active, and connect with each other, man. So I think that's all we got. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, or what do you think?
I think we covered everything.
I think we jumped into it all, man. Remember, don't boo, vote. And that's it.
That was that politician smile. Y'all seen that? All right, peace.
And I hate to just, wrap it up, but listen, go online right now, startlovingblackpeople.com.
That's the official sponsor of the show today. Start Loving Black People. Look,
you can get you one of these hoodies.
You know what I'm talking about? Looking fresh.
Startlovingblackpeople.com.
Straight up.
Go online, use promo code Nkosi Speaks. It gets you 30% off. It's my dog here. He's going to pay for y'all bill when you check out.
First, 15 shirts. We just starting.
No, it's all good, man. We're going to do it and make it happen. So shout out below. Make sure you subscribe.
Oh, please hit the
follow.
Subscribe button. Everybody go ahead and subscribe right now. I'm going to give you a second. Subscribe. Click. Appreciate it. Yes. Please.
And that's it.
Love us by hitting the subscribe
button. Love us. Love you. Start loving black people.
We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity and hear what we have to say.
Word.
And, Start Loving Black People is going to be a household brand. We want to bring it to